The alarm bells rang across Earth's orbital defense platform like angry wasps. Admiral Kim Dae-ho rushed to the command center, his boots echoing on the metal floors. Outside the thick windows, space looked peaceful. Stars twinkled like they always did. But something was wrong. "What do we have?" Dae-ho asked his communications officer. "Unknown ships, sir. 12 of them. They appeared at the edge of our solar system 20 minutes ago." Dae-ho looked at the main screen. The ships were unlike anything he had seen before. They looked like giant crystals floating in space, catching starlight and throwing it back in rainbow colors. Each ship was the size of a city. They moved together like a school of fish, perfectly coordinated. "Are they hostile?" Dae-ho asked. "They're broadcasting on diplomatic frequencies." "Sir?" "Dr. Park Soo-jin is working on the translation now." Dr. Park Soo-jin sat at her workstation, headphones on, fingers flying over her keyboard. She was Earth's best expert on alien languages. Not that they had met many aliens before. This was only the 4th time in human history that aliens had visited Earth. The first 3 times had not gone well. "Got it," Soo-jin said, pulling off her headphones. "Admiral, you need to hear this." The main speakers crackled to life. An artificial voice began to speak in perfect English, though it sounded cold and emotionless. "Greetings, species of the 3rd planet. We are the Kethvar Collective. We come as representatives of galactic order and peace." Dae-ho frowned. That didn't sound good already, the voice continued. "Your species has expanded beyond acceptable limits. You have claimed 12 star systems without proper authorization. This violates ancient agreements that maintain peace in our galaxy." "What agreements?" Dae-ho muttered. "We never signed anything." "You have 2 choices," the alien voice said. "Accept our guidance and limit your expansion to your home system. Or face corrective measures. You have 72 Earth hours to decide." The transmission ended. The command center fell silent except for the hum of computers. "Corrective measures," someone whispered. "That sounds like a threat." Dae-ho nodded grimly. "Get me President Chen on the emergency line. And wake up the Defense Council, all of them." While Dae-ho made his calls, Soo-jin studied the alien transmission. Something bothered her about their language patterns. The aliens spoke like they had done this many times before, like they expected humans to just give up. Down in the fighter bays, Captain Lee Bo-ram was working on her ship. She always worked on her ship when she was thinking. The Soul's Pride was her baby, a sleek fighter painted deep blue with silver stripes. Bo-ram had flown it through 3 battles and always brought it home. "Hey, Bo-ram," called her friend Nam Ji-ho from across the bay. "Did you hear about the aliens?" Bo-ram looked up from the engine she was checking. "What aliens?" 12 huge ships just showed up. "They want us to give up our colonies or they'll attack us." Bo-ram set down her wrench. "They said they'll attack us?" "Well, they said corrective measures, same thing, right?" Bo-ram climbed out from under her fighter. She was small for a pilot, but everyone knew she was the best fighter pilot in the fleet. She had reflexes like a cat and never backed down from a fight. "Where's Admiral Dae-ho?" she asked. "Emergency meeting with the big shots." "Why?" Bo-ram didn't answer. She walked to the nearest computer terminal and pulled up the sensor data from the alien fleet. The ships were arranged in a perfect diamond formation. As she watched, they moved slightly to adjust their position. All 12 ships moved at exactly the same time, like they were connected by invisible strings. "Interesting," Bo-ram said to herself. 3 hours later, Earth's leaders were arguing in the Defense Council chamber. President Chen looked tired. General Yoon Tae-sung wanted to fight. Several diplomats wanted to surrender immediately. "We can't fight 12 ships that size," said one diplomat. "It would be suicide." "We can't just give up our colonies," General Yoon shot back. "Millions of people live there now." Admiral Dae-ho listened to them argue. He had fought aliens before. The previous encounters had taught him that aliens usually had better technology than humans. But they also had weaknesses. "What do we know about these Kethvar?" he asked Soo-jin. Soo-jin pulled up her notes. "Their language suggests a highly organized society. Everything they say sounds formal and planned. I think they might be a hive mind or something similar." "Explain." "They never use individual pronouns. It's always we and our collective. And listen to this." She played part of the transmission again. "Notice how there are no emotional words? No anger, no frustration. Just facts and demands." General Yoon leaned forward. "So they're like robots?" "Maybe. Or maybe they just think very differently than we do." Captain Bo-ram appeared in the doorway. She had not been invited to this meeting, but security let her through because everyone knew her reputation. "Admiral," she said, "I need to speak with you." Deho waved her over. "What is it, Captain?" "I've been studying their fleet formation. They move together perfectly, too perfectly. I think Dr. Park is right about the hive mind thing. And?" Boram looked around the room at all the important people. "If they're connected, they probably think the same way. They expect us to act like other aliens they've met before. Formal negotiations, surrender, or organized military resistance, and your point?" President Chen asked. "My point is that they don't know humans very well." Boram's eyes were bright with an idea that made Admiral Deho nervous. "They're expecting us to be predictable." "Captain," General Yoon said slowly, "what are you suggesting?" Boram smiled. It was not a nice smile. "I'm suggesting we give them something they've never seen before. A single human fighter who doesn't follow their rules." The room erupted in arguments. Several people called her crazy. Others said it was suicide, but Admiral Deho was thinking. He remembered the last alien invasion. The aliens had expected humans to fight like they did, with large formations and careful tactics. When human pilots started acting unpredictably, the aliens had trouble responding. "It's insane," President Chen said. "Yes," Boram agreed. "That's exactly why it might work." Outside, the crystal ships waited in their perfect formation, patient as predators. They had done this before with dozens of other species. It always ended the same way. But they had never met humans before. And humans, as they were about to learn, did not like being told what to do. Captain Lee Boram's hands moved smoothly over the controls of the Soul's Pride. The modified fighter responded like it was part of her body. Behind her, Earth grew smaller as she flew toward the alien fleet. Ahead of her, 12 crystal ships waited in their perfect diamond formation. "Radio check, Soul's Pride." Admiral Deho's voice came through her headset. "Loud and clear. Control. All systems green. Remember, this is officially a reconnaissance mission." Boram smiled inside her helmet. "Of course, Admiral. Just taking a closer look at our visitors." Engineer Choi had done amazing work in 12 hours. The fighter's new stealth system made it nearly invisible to most sensors. The weapon systems had been upgraded with experimental plasma cannons that packed twice the punch of standard missiles. Most importantly, Choi had installed a frequency jammer that might disrupt the aliens' coordination signals. If Dr. Sujin was right about how they communicated. The Kethvar fleet hung in space like a cluster of giant jewels. Each ship was beautiful in its own way, but Boram could see the weapons ports built into their crystal surfaces. These were warships, not exploration vessels. "Soul's Pride, you're approaching their sensor range," came Dr. Sujin's voice from the command center. "Copy that. Going to passive sensors now." Boram switched off her active scanners and relied on visual and passive detection. The fighter became a dark shadow drifting through space. The Kethvar ships were so large that she could hide in their sensor shadows. As she got closer, she began to understand how the alien formation worked. The 12 ships moved together, but there was one ship in the center that seemed to be giving orders. Every time the formation shifted, the center ship moved first and the others followed. "That's got to be their command ship," she whispered to herself. The command ship was larger than the others and covered in more complex crystal formations. It pulsed with internal light, and Boram could see communication arrays pointed at each of the other ships. She activated her recording systems and began mapping the alien fleet. The formations were indeed perfect, with mathematical precision that no human fleet could match. But that precision might also be their weakness. "Soul's Pride, what's your status?" Admiral Deho asked. "I'm inside their perimeter. They haven't detected me yet. The good news is that Dr. Sujin was right. They're definitely communicating on a single frequency, and it's coming from the big ship in the middle. Any sign they know you're there?" "Not yet. Their sensor sweeps are very predictable. They scan in the same pattern every 30 seconds, like clockwork." That was when Boram made her decision. The original plan had been to observe and report back. But seeing the aliens' rigid patterns gave her an idea. She armed her weapons systems. "Soul's Pride, what are you doing?" came Sujin's worried voice. "Testing a theory." Boram waited for the next sensor sweep to pass, then fired a single plasma bolt at the nearest alien ship. The blast struck the crystal hull and sent rainbow sparks flying in all directions. The reaction was immediate and exactly what she had hoped for. All 12 alien ships stopped moving at exactly the same time. Their formation froze as they tried to process what had just happened. "Now let's see how you handle this," Boram muttered, and fired her engines at full power. The Soul's Pride shot forward like a bullet, heading directly between two of the alien ships. The Kethvar vessels began turning to track her, but they moved slowly, as if they were thinking about each maneuver. Boram reached the gap between the ships and suddenly spun her fighter 90 degrees, flying straight up relative to the alien formation. The move was so sudden and illogical that the alien targeting systems couldn't predict where she was going. "Soul's Pride, you are not following the reconnaissance plan?" Admiral Deho's voice carried a mix of concern and admiration. "Plan changed, Admiral. I'm giving them humanity's answer to their ultimatum." Boram dove back toward the alien formation, this time targeting their communication arrays. Her plasma cannons fired in rapid succession, striking 3 different ships. Each hit disrupted the perfect crystal formations on their hulls. The effect was dramatic. The alien ships began moving independently for the first time, some turning left, others turning right. Their perfect coordination was breaking down. "It's working," Dr. Sujin's excited voice came through the radio. "Their communication frequency is getting weaker, but the aliens were learning." The command ship began broadcasting on multiple frequencies, trying to regain control of its fleet. And the escort ships were starting to return fire. Crystal beams of energy lanced through space around Boram's fighter. The alien weapons were powerful, but they fired in predictable patterns. Boram flew through the energy blasts like she was dancing, rolling and spinning her fighter in ways that seemed impossible. "How is she doing that?" someone asked over the radio. "She's not flying like a military pilot," General Yoon's voice answered. "She's flying like someone who doesn't care about the rules." Boram laughed as she dove toward the command ship. "That's because I don't care about their rules." The command ship was massive, the size of a small city. Its weapons were charging up to fire at her, but Boram had noticed something important. The ship's crystal formations were beautiful, but they were also fragile. Each crystal had to be perfectly aligned to work properly. She fired her entire missile load at the ship's main communication array. The explosion was spectacular. Crystal fragments flew in all directions, catching starlight and throwing it back in brilliant flashes. The command ship's internal lights flickered and dimmed. Suddenly, the entire alien fleet stopped moving. Without their central coordination, the ships drifted like they were asleep. "Soul's Pride report," Admiral Deho called. "Command ship is damaged. Their fleet coordination is down. But Admiral, I think I made them angry." The alien ships were indeed angry. Without their hive mind coordination, individual ships began acting on their own. Some tried to retreat. Others fired wildly in all directions. A few began ramming into each other as they lost formation discipline. It was chaos, and Boram was right in the middle of it. "Soul's Pride, get out of there," General Yoon ordered. "Not yet. I want to send them a message they won't forget." Boram flew straight at the damaged command ship. Her fighter was tiny compared to the crystal giant, but she had something the aliens didn't understand: human determination. She activated her ship's external speakers and broadcast on all frequencies. "Attention Kethvar Collective. This is Captain Lee Boram of the Earth Defense Forces. You wanted to negotiate with humanity. Well, here's our answer." She fired her remaining weapons at the command ship's bridge, then pulled her fighter into a tight loop that brought her face to face with the alien vessel's main viewing ports. Earth doesn't surrender. Earth doesn't accept ultimatums. And Earth doesn't recognize your authority over human space. The alien ship tried to target her with its remaining weapons, but Boram was too close and moving too fast. "If you want our colonies, you'll have to take them. But I promise you this, every human world you attack will cost you more ships than you can afford to lose." Back on Earth, the command center erupted in cheers. Admiral Deho watched the tactical display with amazement. One human fighter had single-handedly disrupted an entire alien fleet, but Boram's fighter was taking damage. Crystal beams from multiple ships were tracking her movements, and her luck was running out. "Soul's Pride, you've made your point," Deho called. "Come home." "On my way, Admiral. But I think our alien friends want to have a conversation first." The Kethvar command ship was broadcasting on all frequencies. For the first time since they had arrived, they sounded desperate. "Unknown human pilot. Cease your attack. We request immediate negotiation." Boram's smile was fierce inside her helmet. "Now they want to negotiate." The Kethvar fleet was in complete chaos. Ships that had moved in perfect formation for thousands of years were now scattered across space like broken glass. Some were trying to retreat. Others were firing at random targets. Two had actually collided with each other when their coordination failed. Captain Boram flew through the confusion like a shark through a school of fish. The Soul's Pride was damaged but still flying. Her left engine was running hot, and she had lost most of her weapons. But her mission was working better than anyone had dreamed. Soul's Pride. We're reading multiple alien transmissions. Dr. Sujin's voice came through the radio. They're broadcasting on 17 different frequencies now. What are they saying? It's confused. Some ships are asking for orders. Others are requesting permission to retreat. And the command ship keeps broadcasting the same message over and over, which is, unprecedented situation. Request guidance. Protocols insufficient. Boram laughed despite the energy beam still trying to kill her. They don't know what to do because this has never happened before. Back in the command center, Admiral Deho was watching the tactical display with amazement. The perfect alien formation had become a scattered mess. Individual ships were acting like they had never learned to fly. It's like they're learning to think for themselves for the first time. General Yoon observed, that's exactly what's happening. Dr. Sujin said, studying the alien communications. Listen to this. She played a recording of alien voices, but now there were multiple voices instead of the single collective voice from before. I cannot locate the main formation. Where should we go? What are our orders? Let their speaking as individuals now. Engineer Choi was monitoring Boram's fighter systems from his workstation. Captain, your engine temperature is critical. You need to reduce power or you'll have a core breach. Copy that. But I'm not leaving yet. Boram had spotted something important. The alien command ship was trying to repair its communication array. Crystal formations were slowly growing back together, attempting to restore the link with the rest of the fleet. If they get their coordination back, this whole thing was for nothing, she said to herself. The command ship was enormous, but Boram had noticed that its repair systems worked in predictable patterns. The crystals regrew in mathematical sequences, always following the same design. She waited until the repair was almost complete, then fired her last two missiles directly at the newly formed crystal array. The explosion was even bigger this time. The entire command ship shuddered and its lights went out completely. Soul's Pride, what did you just do? Admiral Deho asked. Made sure they can't put their fleet back together, but Boram's attack had consequences. Without any central control at all, the alien ships began acting purely on individual instinct. And their instinct was to eliminate the threat that had destroyed their coordination. Every remaining weapon in the alien fleet turned toward Boram's tiny fighter. Soul's Pride. You have incoming from all directions. General Yoon's voice was tense. Get out of there now! Boram looked at her scanner. Dozens of energy weapons were charging up to fire at her position. Even with all her skill, she couldn't dodge that much firepower. This might be a problem, she admitted. That's when Nam Jiho's voice came through the radio. Don't worry, Boram. Cavalry is coming. Jiho, what are you doing out here? What does it look like? Backing up my wingman. The Iron Eagle, Jiho's fighter, streaked into the battle zone with plasma cannons blazing. He wasn't alone. Behind him came 3 more human fighters, all piloted by volunteers who had launched without orders. Soul Squadron, this is Admiral Deho. You are all in violation of direct orders to remain in defensive positions. Sorry, Admiral, came the voice of Lieutenant Park Min-soo. Communications must be bad. We didn't hear that order. The arrival of human reinforcements changed everything. The alien ships, already confused by the loss of their coordination, now had to track multiple targets moving in completely unpredictable patterns. Human fighter tactics were based on individual initiative and rapid decision-making. Each pilot flew their own way, making split-second choices that no computer could predict. The aliens, who had evolved to think collectively, couldn't adapt to opponents who acted independently. This is incredible, Dr. Sujin said, watching the battle. The aliens are trying to predict our movements, but every human pilot is different. Boram regrouped with her squadron and took stock of the situation. The alien fleet was scattered, their command ship was disabled, and individual alien vessels were making mistakes because they weren't used to thinking for themselves. All right, people, she said over the squadron frequency. We've got their attention. Now let's give them a message they'll never forget. The 5 human fighters formed up and flew directly at the alien command ship. It was a massive target, the size of a small moon, but it was also helpless without its coordination systems. Sole leader to alien command ship. Boram broadcast on all frequencies. I'm coming aboard. Captain, what are you doing? Admiral Deho asked, finishing the conversation they wanted to have. Boram's fighter approached the command ship's main docking bay. The massive doors were designed for alien shuttles, but they were big enough for a human fighter. She flew straight into the alien ship. Inside, the corridors were vast and filled with rainbow light from the crystal formations. Boram landed her damaged fighter in what looked like a cargo bay and climbed out. She was still wearing her flight suit and helmet, but she had brought a portable air supply. The alien atmosphere was breathable for humans, but she wasn't taking any chances. The corridors were empty at first, but then Boram heard footsteps, or something like footsteps. The sound was like crystal chimes hitting together. 3 aliens appeared around a corner. They were tall and thin, with skin that looked like living crystal. Their faces were hard to read, but Boram could sense their confusion. "You are the human pilot," one of them said. Its voice sounded like music. "I am Captain Lee Boram, Earth Defense Forces. Why have you come aboard our vessel?" Boram looked at the 3 aliens. They were no longer speaking in unison like the collective voice from their transmissions. Each one had a slightly different tone. "You said you wanted to negotiate, so let's negotiate." The aliens looked at each other, and Boram realized they were having a conversation she couldn't hear. After a moment, the center alien spoke. "We do not understand your actions. You attacked our fleet with a single small vessel. This violates all protocols of civilized warfare. Maybe that's because humans aren't very civilized. Your tactics make no logical sense. 1 fighter cannot defeat 12 capital ships." Boram smiled inside her helmet. "You're right. 1 fighter can't defeat 12 capital ships. But 1 human fighter can teach 12 capital ships to think twice about threatening Earth." She gestured toward the corridor that led deeper into their ship. "Your fleet is scattered. Your coordination is broken. Your ships are afraid to act without orders, all because 1 human refused to follow your rules." The aliens were quiet for a long time. Finally, the center one spoke. "We have encountered over 400 species in our expansion across the galaxy. None have ever responded as you have." "Then you haven't been meeting the right species. Civilized species accept guidance from those with superior technology and organization." Boram's smile grew wider. "Who said humans were civilized?" The 3 Kethvar aliens stood in their crystal corridor, looking at the small human who had destroyed their fleet's coordination. Captain Lee Boram waited patiently for them to speak. She had all day, and her fighter squadron was still outside providing cover. "You have caused unprecedented disruption to our collective," the center alien finally said. "Good," Boram replied. "That was the point. We do not understand. Your species must know that resistance is futile. Our technology is superior. Our fleet is larger. Our experience in galactic affairs spans millennia." Boram removed her helmet, letting her black hair fall free. The alien seemed surprised that she would take off her protective gear in their presence. "Let me explain something about humans," she said. "We don't care about your experience. We don't care about your superior technology. And we definitely don't care about your rules." The alien on the left spoke for the first time. Its voice was higher pitched than the others. "But surely you understand the logic of our position. Organized expansion prevents conflicts between species." "Whose organization?" Boram asked. "Yours? Why should humans follow rules we never agreed to? Because they maintain galactic peace." "Whose peace?" "The peace of species that surrender immediately. The peace of civilizations that give up their freedom without a fight." The aliens exchanged looks again. Boram was starting to understand that they were having internal debates, but they weren't used to disagreeing with each other. "You speak of freedom," the center alien said, "but freedom without order leads to chaos." "Maybe. But order without freedom leads to slavery." Boram walked closer to the large windows that looked out at space. Through the crystal walls, she could see her squadron still patrolling around the alien command ship. In the distance, the rest of the Kethvar fleet remained scattered and confused. "You want to know what I think?" she said. "I think you've been doing this so long that you forgot other species might have different ideas about how to live. All civilized species recognize the necessity of collective harmony." There's that word. Again, civilized. Boram turned back to face the aliens. You keep saying that like it's a good thing. But from what I've seen, your civilization is just another word for giving up. The third alien, who had been quiet until now, suddenly spoke. You destroyed our coordination matrix. Our fleet cannot function as intended. I noticed. This will take months to repair. Our mission timeline is completely disrupted. Boram nodded. Now you're starting to understand. Understand what? That humans fight back. That we don't make easy targets. That every world you want to take from us will cost you time, ships, and lives. She pointed out the window at the scattered alien fleet. Look at your ships. Half of them are trying to retreat. The other half don't know what to do without orders. All because one human pilot refused to follow your script. The center alien was quiet for a long time. When it spoke again, its voice sounded different. Less certain. What do you propose? I propose you leave human space and don't come back. That is unacceptable. We have our mission to maintain galactic order. Then here's my counter-proposal. Every time you threaten a human world, we'll send fighters to visit your fleet. Every time you try to impose your order on us, we'll show you what human chaos looks like. You would wage perpetual war against superior forces? Boram laughed. Superior forces? You just watched one damaged fighter put your entire fleet out of commission. How superior can you be? The aliens were having another one of their silent conversations. Boram waited, watching their crystal faces change color slightly as they debated. Finally, the center alien spoke. We must consult with the greater collective. Go ahead. But while you're consulting, remember this conversation. Remember that humans don't surrender. Remember that we don't follow rules we didn't make. And remember that we're very, very good at breaking things that seem unbreakable. Boram put her helmet back on and activated her comm system. Soul Squadron, this is Soul Leader. Mission accomplished. Time to go home. Copy that, Leader, came Jiho's voice. We'll escort you out. As Boram walked back to her fighter, the center alien called after her. Human pilot. What if we had simply destroyed your planet from orbit? What if we had not bothered with negotiation? Boram stopped and turned around. Then you would have learned a different lesson about humans. Which is? That we're really, really good at revenge. She climbed into her fighter and started the engines. The Soul's pride was badly damaged, but it still flew. As she taxied toward the exit, she could see aliens watching from viewing windows throughout their ship. Let them watch, she thought. Let them remember. The 5 human fighters formed up and flew away from the alien fleet. Behind them, the HFY ships remained scattered and confused. It would take them days just to reorganize and months to repair their coordination systems. Soul Leader, this is Admiral Deho. Report. Mission successful, Admiral. The aliens want to think about their options. What did you tell them? I told them that humans don't like ultimatums. Back on Earth's orbital platform, the command center erupted in celebration. Admiral Deho watched the tactical display as the alien fleet slowly began to regroup, but they made no move to approach Earth. Dr. Sujin was monitoring their communications. Admiral, you need to hear this. She put the alien transmissions on the speakers. Instead of the single collective voice they had heard before, there were now dozens of individual voices, all talking at once. Never encountered this level of resistance. Individual combat tactics are unpredictable. Recommend strategic withdrawal to reassess threat level. General Yoon smiled. Sounds like they're having second thoughts. 3 hours later, the HFY fleet began to withdraw from Earth's solar system. But before they left, they sent one final transmission. Species of the third planet. The HFY collective acknowledges your unique approach to diplomacy. We will inform the greater galaxy that humans prefer to negotiate through demonstration rather than discussion. Your expansion rights to the disputed systems are recognized. However, be aware that other species may challenge you using methods different from ours. We recommend caution in your future encounters. The transmission ended, and the alien ships disappeared into hyperspace. Captain Boram landed her damaged fighter in the main hangar bay to find hundreds of people waiting. Engineers, pilots, technicians, and officers were all clapping and cheering. Not bad for a reconnaissance mission, Admiral Deho said as she climbed out of her cockpit. Just following orders, Admiral. You said to take a closer look at our visitors. And what did you learn? Boram grinned. I learned that bullies are the same everywhere. They act tough until someone punches them in the nose. Dr. Sujin approached with a datapad. Captain, we're already receiving communications from other alien species. Word is spreading fast about what happened here. What kind of communications? Trade agreements, defense pacts, cultural exchange programs. Sujin smiled. Apparently half the galaxy has been waiting for someone to stand up to the HFY. Boram looked around at all the celebrating faces. Earth had faced its greatest threat and won, not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through pure human stubbornness. So what happens now? She asked. Admiral Deho looked out at the stars beyond the hangar bay doors. Now we get back to exploring the galaxy. But I have a feeling our neighbors will be a lot more polite from now on. Engineer Choi appeared with a bottle of something that looked suspiciously like soju. Captain, your fighter is going to need a complete rebuild. Good, Boram said, accepting a drink. I have some ideas for improvements. Nam Jiho raised his glass. To Captain Lee Boram, who taught the galaxy that humans don't negotiate with bullies. To humanity, Boram corrected. We don't negotiate with bullies. We just show them what happens when they pick on someone their own size. Outside, Earth continued its slow rotation, blue and peaceful in the starlight. And across the galaxy, alien civilizations were learning a new word. Human. It was a word that would soon become synonymous with unpredictability, determination, and the dangerous idea that sometimes the smallest opponent can win by refusing to lose. The Defense Council meeting had been going for 6 hours. Coffee cups and empty food containers covered the table. Everyone looked tired, but no one wanted to leave. Outside, Earth's deadline was getting closer. Dr. Park Soo-jin rubbed her eyes and looked at her computer screen again. She had been analyzing every word the HFY had sent them. The more she studied their language, the more worried she became. Admiral, she called to Deho. I found something important. The arguing in the room stopped. Everyone turned to look at her. I've been comparing their message to our records of previous alien contacts. The HFY have done this before. Many times. How can you tell? President Chen asked. Sujin put her findings on the main screen. Look at their word choices. They use phrases like standard procedures and established protocols. This isn't the first time they've given this exact speech. General Yoon frowned. So they're experienced at this. More than that. I think they've never had anyone refuse them before. Listen to this part again. She played the recording. Accept our guidance and limit your expansion to your home system. They don't say or else, they don't make threats. They just assume we'll agree. Captain Boram, who had been quietly sitting in the corner, spoke up. Because everyone always does agree. Exactly. I think the HFY are so used to species surrendering immediately that they don't know what to do if someone fights back. Admiral Deho walked to the window that looked out at Earth. The blue planet turned slowly below them, peaceful and beautiful. Somewhere down there, families were having dinner and children were playing. They didn't know that their entire future was being decided in this room. Captain Boram, he said without turning around. Tell me about your plan. Boram stood up. It's simple. Their ships move together because they think together. If I can disrupt their coordination, their whole formation falls apart. How? By doing things they don't expect. Flying patterns that don't make sense to them. Attacking from directions that seem impossible. One of the diplomats laughed nervously. You want to fly one fighter against 12 capital ships? That's not tactics. That's suicide. Boram looked at him calmly. Maybe, but what's the alternative? Surrender our colonies? Let them decide where humans can and can't live. We could try negotiating, another diplomat suggested. With what? General Yoon asked. They're not here to negotiate. They're here to dictate terms. The only question is whether we accept their terms or make them work for it. Dr. Sujin was studying her computer again. There's something else. I've been monitoring their communications since they arrived. They send signals to each other constantly, but always at the same frequency, always the same pattern. Like a heartbeat, Boram said. Exactly like a heartbeat. If I'm right and there's some kind of hive mind, that frequency might be how they stay coordinated. Engineer Choi Hyun-woo had been quiet during most of the meeting. Now he looked up from his tablet. Captain Boram, how current are the modifications on your fighter? Pretty current. Why? Because I've been working on some new things. Experimental stuff. If you're really going to try this crazy plan, you'll need every advantage we can give you. President Chen held up her hand. Wait, we haven't decided anything yet. Captain Boram, even if your plan works, even if you somehow disable their coordination, you're still one person against 12 ships. Not trying to destroy them all, Boram said. Just trying to make them think twice about threatening us. And if you fail? Boram shrugged. Then you can try surrender. But at least they'll know humans don't give up without a fight. Admiral Deho turned back to face the room. In all his years of military service, he had learned one thing. Sometimes the impossible plan was the only plan that worked. Engineer Choi, how long would you need to prepare Captain Boram's fighter? 12 hours minimum. Maybe 18 if you want it done right. We don't have 18 hours, then 12 hours it is. The room erupted in arguments again. Half the people wanted to try Boram's plan. The other half wanted to keep looking for diplomatic solutions. During the arguing, Boram slipped out of the room. She made her way down to the fighter bays where Engineer Choi was already pulling tools from his storage lockers. You really think this will work? Choi asked as he opened the engine compartment of the Soul's Pride. Honestly? Probably not, but it's better than doing nothing. What if they're right? What if it really is suicide? Boram thought about that while she watched Choi work. My grandfather fought in the Korean War. He used to tell me stories about fighting armies that outnumbered his unit 50-1. He said the only way to survive impossible odds was to make the enemy think you were crazy enough to do anything. And were you? Were we what? Crazy enough to do anything. Boram smiled. I guess we're about to find out. Across the bay, her friend Nam Jiho was preparing his own fighter. He wasn't supposed to be doing that. The official mission was for Boram to go alone. But Jiho had been her wingman for 3 years. He wasn't going to let her face 12 alien ships by herself. Jiho, Boram called. What are you doing? Getting ready to back you up. This is a solo mission. Says who? Says Admiral Deho. Says the Defense Council. Says everyone with authority to make that decision. Jiho continued working on his fighter. Well, they can court-martial me later. If we're still alive. Up in the command center, the second alien transmission arrived. The Kethvar were getting impatient. Species of the third planet, the cold voice said. Your response time suggests difficulty with our simple request. We will clarify. Accept limitation or face correction. These are your only choices. Dr. Sujin noticed something new in their transmission. They're annoyed. Listen to the way they emphasize simple and only. They're not used to waiting for an answer. Good, Admiral Deho said. Let them wait a little longer. The alien sent a third message an hour later. This time the tone was definitely more threatening. Final communication. Compliance is required within 12 Earth hours. Failure to comply will result in immediate enforcement action. This is standard procedure. Standard procedure, General Yoon repeated. They keep saying that. Because they've done this before, Sujin said. Over and over. They have a routine. Then let's break their routine, Deho decided. Captain Boram gets her mission. 12 hours to prepare, then she launches. Down in the fighter bay, Boram was making her final checks. The Soul's Pride looked different now. Choi had added new weapon systems and enhanced the stealth capabilities. The fighter was faster and more maneuverable than ever before. It's ready, Choi said. But Captain, these modifications are experimental. I can't guarantee they'll work under combat conditions. They'll work, Boram said with confidence she didn't entirely feel. She climbed into her cockpit and ran through the startup sequence. Everything looked good. In a few hours, she would be flying alone against 12 alien capital ships, but she wouldn't really be alone. Behind her, Earth's entire military was preparing for war. If her plan failed, they would be ready to fight, and if her plan succeeded, maybe they wouldn't have to. The countdown began. 11 hours and 37 minutes until launch.